Standard action, we film in Vancouver. A lot of what we do is in the outskirts of Vancouver. Finding locations was definitely a challenge. We drew our resources from our cast, our crew. A lot of people had private land that they would let us use. Some of our interiors, we would talk to people about deals that had nothing to do with money, like, we will advertise for you. We will put you in our credits. This is what we do. This is what we've already done. Isn't it great? Don't you want to be a part of it? And a lot of times, yeah, they'll make a deal with you. Sometimes we just ended up filming guerrilla. Sometimes we just ended up going into the bushes and running around and hoping that nobody was there.
I know for Border Guardians of Akanon, they spent a long time looking for locations, but they were also very lucky that the director had a fantastic piece of land that they could film a lot of their outdoor shots on. So you know, it can look so epic because they had this land that they could use, and then they built sets as well. So it's a question of what do I have available to me? What can I beg, borrow, and steal? And you know, what can I get away with?
Friends with property.
Yeah, it is. There's friends with property. We shoot our live hosted show in a bedroom in our house that is, as you guys all know, covered in cords and mics, and you throw up a backdrop and you shoot it. It just, you do what you can do.
Another really amazing resource, which I have found, is a really good production designer.
The hotel room, we found a hotel that already had like rules in place for filming, which you might not find somewhere else. We used a friend's house. And we had, our production designer had access to a soundstage, so we were able to put our limo in the soundstage, which would have been hard to film otherwise.
Yeah.
And the other thing we needed was that one exterior shot where we needed exterior Las Vegas Strip, and we went to LA Live and shot guerrilla style.
Nice.
And they were so used to people filming there that even though it wasn't legal, the guards clearly didn't really care. So I think LA helped us for what we needed.
Not that anyone on this panel would film without a permit.
Never.
We know of web series that have done that, but none of us would ever dare.
Just watching some of the clips, I'm really looking forward to seeing these shows now because I haven't seen them before, and I'm like, yes.
Yay!
But yeah, the production value is great. Like it looks like there are these really big stories a lot of the time. When do you draw the line as far as like, okay, this is too big to do a web series, as far as coming up with a story idea? Does that limit you at all, or do you just make it happen?
Never. You make it happen.
Never.
Make it
Just
happen.
make it happen.
We actually went into Causality with a very specific idea that we wanted to have good writing, good acting, and good production values for what we wanted to do. We wanted to keep our, and we continue to do this as we're in production right now.
Need to get it done.
I think as far as big ideas, though, you have to be, you can't not be willing to let go of things, though. If it doesn't work, if you get to set, or if your designer says, we can't make this work, you have to be able to alter it and modify it. So just, web series is all about being fluid. So yeah, you just have to be able to roll with the punches. But again, you find amazing people to work with, and they will bring you amazing things.
So at the scene in Husbands of where they're trying to decide who's going to drive home, that originally was set in front of the hotel while they're packing luggage in the back of the car, which means we needed the front of a casino, we needed a car, we need passersby. No, let's just move that into the little hotel room.
Cheat, be creative.
Yeah.
Honestly, stuff on screen, you can make it look like whatever you want. It can be a chunk of cardboard and it can look like plate armor in the corner. I'm serious.
It's going like the cardboard
EVA
can.
foam.
We can teach you how to make Roman pillars and look like you're back in, 400 BC.
Yep.
And you can pick it up with your finger.
Don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah.
I would also say that.
Absolutely.
Because there are so many talented, creative people out there who are just kind of looking for good projects. At least that's been my experience, is that if you start making something cool, other people who want to make cool things will want to be involved with it.
True.
That's actually how we got all of our great technical people is we wrote this script and then we were like, well, we kind of need a DP, so put out an ad, this guy responds, and we looked at his reel and we were like, he's not gonna work with us. This guy goes to like Africa for the Gates Foundation, he's got these amazing panoramic views of we bring him the script and he's like, I've always wanted to do something like this. You don't have to pay me. We'll take it.
Next question. In the hat, up top.
There was a comment about some soaps going to web series, but we've had like Sanctuary has gone from a web series to a TV series. Is there if one of your web series were to be picked up that way, is that maybe a goal, or are you trying to stay away completely from television?
Depends on how much creative control I retain.
Yeah.
I think that's true for a lot of creators. It depends on the level of creative control they retain, or
It depends on funding.
the amount of the check and the number of zeros to buy that creative control away.
It's really all about intention. If you come into the space with the intention of, yes, I want to have a TV pilot, that's where I'm going, whether it's this one that I'm creating, or it's just getting my work seen, and then going forward into another project while working for a company that works for television, then that's your intention, and that's great. For other people, it's, no, I want to make a movie. Look at Kevin Tancherone in Mortal Kombat. He gets to do that now. And so for others, it's, no, I love web space. I'm going to do web space for as long as I can do web space. If something else comes along, cool. Give me a job. I can continue to do my web space stuff.
Yeah. For a lot of us, we just want sustainability.
And I think that can evolve. Husbands originally was like, oh, we'll use this as a spec to get it on TV. Now that I've seen how much fun it is doing a web series, that way you get to be the boss and make the content exactly what you want. Now I'm back to the, well, how much creative control question.
And you can swear, Jane.
You can swear.
I can swear in a web series. I rarely get that chance.
I think for a lot of creators, it is becoming, at least, and I know this is a big conversation within the community itself, it's becoming about creating for this space, embracing this space, and making this space sustainable so that our shows become self-sustaining and we don't have to constantly say, God, I hope I get picked up for TV or I can't do this anymore. So that TV's not the end goal, a movie's not the end goal, the web space is the end goal, because eventually nobody's going to know whether the show came from the web or the television. You're all going to watch it on the same device. So as long as we know how we're creating.
Yeah, that's entirely true. I mean, I don't think that TV is necessarily ready for a bodyline web series, but you know, it could happen and it could be redone. And we created it for the web because this is the only format that we can get our work out. But that's not to say that we wouldn't want to do something for TV in the future, but for now, the web is where we are.
Well, and I think we're missing a big part of the conversation, saying, I'm doing this because I'm a woman, because it's harder for me to break into traditional media. And I tried that for years in theater, and it just didn't work. I got told to my face that women playwrights were not good. I got told to my face that they were not choosing me because I was a woman. So I said, F it. It doesn't matter. I know this guy with a camera. You can't keep me. You can't keep me away from it. But it gives us the opportunity to do something that we might not have the chance to. I'm a character actor. I'm hourglass shaped. I'm never going to make it in LA.
Totally. You think that we're going to be the next Mary Hart? I don't think so.
No, I'm sorry. I like my curves and my weight. I'm good with that.
But we're more passionate about it than Mary Hart would ever be. And we're honest. If it sucks, we'll tell you.
But, you know, or if I'm in theater, I'm going to be typecast as a guy. They're just going to
I don't think so.
I'm like, I'm okay with that. But no, that's not what I'm here for.
More questions? Above you. Sorry. Yes.
Way to make people feel.
So it sounds like these are being made by like really small groups of really creative people who all kind of help with everything. Do you guys ever run into problems where like different people have different ideas and want to take things different directions and somebody has to draw the line somewhere?
All the time. In our production, it's myself and Michael Montour and Ralph Fontaine, who is our director and another actor. And the three of us all have very different strengths. And we balance each other very well, but there are times when we clash. And that's because we all have different backgrounds. But I think ultimately that lends us a richness we wouldn't have if we all came from the same background. Ralph does have a background in LA. He used to direct reality TV.
Thanks for bringing that up.
So it's his fault.
Montour
Thanks a lot, Ralph.
is a horror writer, but he's a prose writer, and my background is in playwriting, so that gives us two very different writing styles. But it gives our script such strength that I don't think either of us would have alone.
Yeah, on standard action, I mean, a lot of times we'll have differing opinions from everything from the screen, the layout to the shots to costumes to everything, and it ends up making it a better show. So as long as you can compromise and work well and collaborate as opposed to butt heads, and then but there are times where if you really do feel very, very strongly, you make your stand. I think a lot of times too that it comes ultimately down to your creator / executive producer. I mean, there's been a couple times where we've said, well, let's do this, and Joanna's like, no. Sorry. But I mean, that's the thing too is that you do need a leader, and your leader can't be afraid to lead and make decisions that may not always be 100% popular. But you have, again, it's all about trust, and as long as you trust the other people and their instincts, and you trust your leader to make the right decisions and not screw you over, you will ultimately end up with a bigger, better, much more rich, much brighter project.
I mean, my co-creator I'm married to, so we never argued about anything.
Yeah, we don't argue either.
Obviously, we never argued.
My partner and I are
I'm gonna believe
we
that as
agree
soon
on
as we
everything that
never
happens.
fight.
Always, don't you?
I'm gonna mix rainbows and sunshines over
All the
here.
time. Puking muffins all the time.
And we were very lucky to have a couple of co-stars. Joey actually co-stars in 2 episodes, and they brought a huge amount to the episodes because they brought in another angle. What other people have said, it's good to have a lot of different points of view, but you do need to have somebody who takes ultimate decisions. And as long as everybody can get along with that, I don't think you need to have those perspectives.
Which isn't to say that splits don't happen. I have a little behind-the-scenes anecdote here, and then we'll move on to the last couple of questions. I want to get them in. But we know of a very popular web series with millions of views. Mm-hmm. And they were moving into a finale of their season, and the finale kind of fell flat with about half of their audience. And we were talking about it on our show one day, and we kind of said, that really fell flat, and it kind of sucked as a finale. And somebody said, well, what you need to do, I said, we need to have the 2 writers and creators on and ask them what the hell happened.
And the 2 lead actresses.
And they said, somebody said, who actually knows them and worked as a PA on their set, said, actually, you should have this actress on with that writer and that actress on with that writer, and you'll get a different answer from both of them. Mm-hmm. So splits do happen, even with web series that are highly acclaimed and have millions of views and a large budget.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It does happen, but it doesn't mean that the show won't continue, and it doesn't mean that it won't get made. Obviously, theirs got made. They just disagreed on that final direction.
Ending. But at the same time, I have to give them props. We both did, because they stuck to their target audience. Their target audience was not us, and it wasn't the adults that were watching it and the people that wanted to market it further. They catered to an audience that was between the ages of 14 and 18. And they stuck with that ending that audience wanted, and everybody else just could not stand it. But they knew it.
Next question. Up at the top.
Yeah, it was in some ways very, very different, in some ways incredibly familiar. But yes, that big difference was the feeling of ownership, the feeling that when I was writing the script or on set or in the editing room, there was nobody above me. And in TV, even if you were the executive producer, in Caprica, I was the showrunner, executive producer, and you have no idea how many levels are above that person. You're always second guessing. Is this what Ike, the other executive producer, wants? Is this what NBC Universal wants? Is this what Sci-Fi wants? You got all those layers. So when you're on the set, you're nervous as a cat because you're going like, oh, if I give this change, what if this completely contradicts something that the bosses want? The control and ownership that I felt over husbands was totally freeing. Felt like nothing else I'd ever done. It made me have sort of a revelation about, like, I'd always thought that when I had to correct something on set, like, oh, I don't think that line's working, let's change that line. Or in an editing room where you go like, oh, let's take out that line because it didn't work. I always thought that meant that I discovered a flaw in the script that I'd written, and I always felt really bad about it. somehow by having that control, it made me realize that no, that's a natural step in the process. Writing never stops. You're still writing all the way up till you make that last edit and pick that last stock shot and everything. That's all part of the process. I'd never felt that before because I always felt like by that part of the process I was just taking orders and second guessing what other people wanted. So I highly recommend it. I feel like after 20 years of writing for traditional television, I learned things I would not have learned any other way. And it does have to do with ownership.
Okay, we can get technical. One thing you guys haven't really talked about yet is budget.
What budget?
When you're prioritizing your line items in your budgeting, what are you, this is kind of each of you, what is most important to you? Is it the technology you're using to capture your series on film and then to transfer it over to the digital media? Is it compensating your actors and directors and writers? Is it costuming? Is it set? Where are you each prioritizing as you're working on your shows?
Should we just go down the line? Go down the line on
Feed your people. No, I'm serious. Feed your people, especially if you are not paying them food, like feeding them well, feeding them safely, feeding them healthfully, feeding them sustainably. Number one thing we think about.
For Standard Action, a part of what we did was what do we already have access to, and what can we build, and what are people good at. So we built that into the storyline, but it was very, very, very important for us to pay everybody involved, and that's pretty unheard of in web series right now. We paid every single person for every day on set, which is incredibly unheard of, and so it was a small honorarium, but it went. That's where the majority of our money went. We did spend some money on technology, but it was some stuff that we'd already owned. So it was, for us, it was people.
Ours was a micro budget, and most of that budget went on our costuming and set building, and a little bit on technology, and that's how we divided up our money.
I wanted to do mine as much as possible within lines with the rules, so I wanted it to be guild and insured and stuff like that. So that cost a lot of money. It was sort of making sure everything was above board. And that and PR. My God, make sure you budget enough for that, because when you're out there actually trying to find those viewers, it costs more than you think it's going to cost. Just stuff like we're going to New York Comic Con next week. We want to bring things for our cast to sign. So we're printing up stills, 8 by 10 glossies for them to sign. That was never worked into the original budget, but got to be done.
For us, because we're live hosted, all of our budget goes to what little we have is technology, because we need to be able to watch the shows so that we can be authentic with you all, because we don't review anything we don't watch. So most of our budget goes into technology, and that's where we're seeking funding all the time.
We're actually losing money with what we're doing.
Every day.
And that's one thing I know that probably all of us have at the same time, but I know for like a live hosted show, for us there's no real payoff outside of seeing all of these ladies succeed.
Become successful.
That's our goal. And so for us, we lose money in that venue.
But that's
I'm
cool,
okay with
because
Thank you.
they're getting more viewers all the time, and
Right.
that's what it's about. We literally only need to sustain ourselves in the
Yeah.
show.
So for me, it really depends on the show that I'm working on. For Glitch, we also are very much interested in being above board and paying our cast and crew. And sometimes that means we have to make trade-offs in terms of the technology that we might have wanted to use. And we're really lucky to be at the time period we are right now, where there's so many prosumer cameras that we can use for much less money. There's also another show that I have in development that's primarily created by actors. For ourselves, for us to showcase a story that we want and to build our reels and to keep working when there isn't necessarily a lot of work. And on that show, we're going to be taking more of the cut to make sure that other members of the crew are able to. And that's also because a lot of our actors are not necessarily members of the union, and we want them to be able to work, actually all of our actors. So we want to be able to work anyway. But as a producer, my values then are a little bit different than for a show that I'm doing more to showcase myself and other creative talent I know.
Well, Vanessa pretty much covered it for Standard Action, but yeah, for me it was all about people. I completely self-funded my first season, so it was all out of my day job, and it was up to me to choose whether to spend it on getting a really expensive camera or pay my people.
And as an actor in Vancouver, I've worked for so long without pay, and it's great. If you love what you do, it's awesome, you can do it, but it gets exhausting after a while. So paying people was the most important thing for me to do.
We can do one last question, and then we will close it out by telling you where you can find all of our shows. So last question. Anybody?
Girl with the TARDIS hat. Didn't get to ask earlier.
So it seems like just a lot of web shows, a lot of web series in general, generally have very small budgets. What kind of little cheats do you use when you're filming? Like,
I'm a shopping ninja.
Thrift store.
Yeah,
Value Village.
Thrift store, Value Village.
Value Village and any thrift store.
I go to set sales. I'm lucky living in Vancouver, BC. There's a lot of TV shows, and when those TV shows stop filming for the season or they're canceled or whatever, they have set sales, and so I get to go buy stuff for very, very cheap.
Anybody else have any thrifty?
Thrifting, make stuff,
Nepotism.
garage sales. Pretty much, yeah.
You'd be surprised what you can find at garage sales and thrift stores.
And barter. Barter is a huge thing that people forget is, like, hey, if you let us use this location, we'll shoot you a 30-second web commercial.
That's actually what we're doing for one of our locations, is using our B-reel, B-roll for that. But also, God, just ask your family, ask your friends, ask anybody they know. If they know
Can I borrow
locations.
this?
Yeah. Hey, big sister, I know you're moving your house. What are you going to do with your old house? Oh, you're not going to sell it just yet? Could I maybe, dress it and use it as a secure location for my show? Oh, you love that idea. Let's do that.
Find people that work with the stuff that you're looking to use. Also, I have a friend that works at the city dump. And he sees all kinds of random stuff come through. We've gotten a sword, we got armor, we had all kinds of things. So he'll call me and be like, so I found this really ugly steel helmet. Do you want it? Hell yeah, I do. We have this stuffed moose head. Do you want it? Bring it over. So whatever, driving down the side of the road. I mean, I used to live in Tacoma, and I know that a lot of the alleys, there's a lot of interesting furniture and pieces and little bits of garbage, antique stores, estate sales.
Theaters in high schools.
It never hurts to
We
ask.
found some killer photography equipment and light equipment at Value Village the other day, and it was like, get over there and get that. Hurry before someone grabs it. It's only $20. Grab.
People think it's a projector.
Do you know how much that is in the store?
Craigslist. Craigslist is another huge one.
Yeah.
I'm going to
Drive around your neighborhood and look at what's on the side of the road.
So I'm going to geek out a bit. If we go away from the costume and set stuff, there's also a lot of the cheaper cameras now. A lot of people are filming with DSLRs. Really good thing about DSLRs, which a lot of people, you have to learn to film this way, but it can be very helpful for you on the budget side, is you can get a very, very narrow depth of field. That means that what you want to be in focus is very narrow, so everything behind that is out of focus. So if you can film your establishing wide on the day, and you run at a time, and you can't get that location again, you can take those actors and you can put them in front of something that's just generally similar to what your wide was, and you can't tell because it's all out of focus, and it makes it really look filmic. Because if you look, I'm serious. If you go to a big movie and you watch the really intense close-ups, everything behind them is out of focus because you don't want to see those people.
And if it's really intense and really good, you don't care.
And you don't care. And so you can pull it off. There were a couple times where we had to reshoot stuff. We couldn't go back to our original location. It just wasn't possible. So we got the two actors out to something similar, filmed it. You couldn't tell. And that's a great way to save money because locations can be very expensive.
So people can find.
We want to thank you guys for coming to our panel today, Women in Web Series. Ladies, you did a great job. Let's
go down the line really quickly.
Very, very quickly. Let's go down the line and just let everybody know the name of your show and the website where they can find it.
Standard Action at watchstandardaction.com.
The Dirty Do-Gooders at dirtydogooders.com.
Causality at watchcausality.com.
My Brains at My Brains Darling at mybrains.com, and also Border Guardians of Achenon at achenon.com.
We're Husbands the Series at husbandstheseries.com.
Indie Innertube at indieinnertube.tv and Indie Innertube TV on minglemedia.tv.
We're Glitch the Show at glitchtheshow.com, and I have some cards up here if anybody wants to take one.
And in case you missed it the first time, Standard Action at watchstandardaction.com.